Welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday night here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. You're tuning in to the Lastella Report. Robbie Lastella here alongside my friend and co-host, Christian Proscia, as usual. We made it. It took a little bit to get it going on the air there for a second. It was lagging, but we're good to go. Christian, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Rob. As y'all can tell, once again, I am not in the basement. I'm at my grandparents' house taking care of some family, as always, spending time down in beautiful Boca Raton. I don't want to ever leave paradise. A couple minutes before the show, thank God for the delay, got to make me some mac and cheese. I would rate it 5 out of 5 booms. But great day. I am never referencing Big Justice on this show again. I am so sorry, guys. I'll see the door. Robbie, how was your day, buddy?
It was good. I mean, you're mentioning basements in Florida. You might need to go hang out with Billy Napier.
No, thank you. I would prefer not to be on the unemployment line.
I mean, that's the only guy who knows anything about basements in Florida. But my day was good. We had the FAU press conference with Tom Herman. Much better than the press conference on Saturday. The press conference on Saturday was a bit of a it was tough scenes, as some people like to say. But a good friend of mine used to say, "Tough scenes, harsher reality," and that's the face it is for FAU. They got beat down by Army, but that's reality. And they're going to have to wake up this week and wake up for a rivalry game. Indeed, FIU coming to town, Shoot the Bowl on deck. We'll get into more of that a little bit here, but mostly on Thursday, hopefully with some guys over from the Pause Up podcast. But talking about FAU's game versus Army, the 24-7 loss, FAU gives up nearly 400 yards plus rushing. Only scores the one touchdown there in the first half. Army is able to dominate the time of possession in the second half. They had that one drive that spanned well over 10 minutes from midway through the third quarter into the early parts of the fourth. And then they convert on the fake field goal, which that was something. But that's just one of those games. You have them. Unfortunately for FAU, it comes against a conference opponent. And so, you just have to rally. The obviously kind of starting with the offense a little bit, Christian. It wasn't much of a good showing out there. But it's Cam missed some throws. The interception on the double covered deep ball was just one you want to have back. I mean, quarterbacks have those all the time when the offense is struggling as a whole to also run the ball, to get any separation from their receivers. Those bad tosses by the quarterback are going to stand out a little bit more, and then you tend to forget about the good throws that they have during the game. But that's not where you want to be at as an offense. Is when a 19-yard completion is considered one of the most important plays of the day. That didn't even go for a touchdown or anything, just a regular old 19 catch, which was a good ball by Cam Fancher, though, the ball to Joe Young early in the second quarter. But yeah, the whole crowd went blur. See, that's what's capable. Tom Herman talked about in the press conference today. There's times when you see what this offense is capable of, but overall it's just really inconsistent all across the board. But in that game specifically versus Army, I think FAU was really hampered by the inability to run the ball. I mean, where has C.J. Campbell been? It's not just CJ's fault. Obviously, the offensive line hasn't been getting as much of a push as they would hope, and there just hasn't been much room to run with. And so it's kind of left the offense in long situations, and it's just not a good thing when you bring in Cam Fancher and he's not going to come in here and pass for 400 yards a game and crazy yards per throw. His strength is in the short game, and if FAU is unable to run the ball, they're not going to be able to set up the short game. And then in this one against the Army, they also, in my opinion, kind of a little dialed back the run almost too much. You want to protect him, but to only rush him 4 times in against Army is going to put the offense behind, especially when you can't run it with your running backs. So that's kind of just what I'm thinking on the offense a little bit. It's not necessarily, Cam struggled, but with no run game, you lose your top 2 wide receivers. BJ, maybe not top 2 in terms of potential production, but on the outside, there's a solid chance that both of them were going to contribute, potentially start, depending on how you value starting uh, at the outside position. So their loss hurts, and obviously Cam struggled a little bit, but there's been a bunch of things that's played into the offensive struggles, and including against Army. Christian, anything else on the offense?
Um, you pretty much summarized it. We're not running the ball at all. The only time that the ball is getting on the ground is when Cam is running for his life. We saw it against Michigan State. Dude was taking kill shots. Honestly, thought he would pull up to the press conference talking like Mike Tyson afterwards because, yeah, I thought that he was a goner during that. Comes back this week. They limit his rushing attempts, but in the same instances, our running backs aren't getting the holes and the separation needed because we know that guys like CJ, Zoo, and Germani Sands and Xavier Terrell, they all have the ability to be quick, flashy, explosive guys. We've seen it happen. Obviously, practice situations versus real game is completely different, but having those guys not, I don't want to say not pulling their weight because that's just not true, but not having the impact that we thought that they would have early on is definitely a concern of mine. And then by neutralizing the run, you now know everything's going to be a pass. And you know, like you said, it's not 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3s. It's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10. Hell, there's a good chance it's 3rd and 10 plus. Like, that's a big problem to me. Is just you can't expect a third down conversion every time on a third and long. Unfortunately, life doesn't work or football doesn't work in real life the way that it does if you're playing Madden. Me personally, I don't punt ever because sorry NCAA 25 version of Logan Lupo, you will never touch the field on my dynasty, my friend. But that's just because in a video game, it's a lot different than real life. So I think that we have to. I don't know what we need to do. I'm going to be so honest. There is multiple quote unquote red flags that all tie a pretty little bow onto the 0-2 record that we have to start the year. So I think we need to figure it out. We need to figure it out fast because guess what? We've got a FIU team that's a solid FIU team. I'd be lying if I tried to sugarcoat it, make a joke off of it. Keontae Jenkins is a good quarterback. FIU has a good offense. FIU has a good defense. They are a solid football team. And guess what? It's a rivalry game. Fed said it in the post game presser. If waking up to play that rivalry game isn't enough to get you motivated, you're on the wrong side of the ball. Because guess what? They're coming in. They haven't won against us in 7 years. They want to, as the kids say, walk in our trap, take over our trap. And the way that we planted a Florida flag on midfield of Raymond James Stadium in USF's rented ass stadium, that's what FIU wants to do to us. And that's what USF wants to do to us in a couple weeks. We gotta figure it out before those guys come in and then they take our lunch money. We gotta be the ones asserting our dominance because end of the day, it's more than just football games. It's now recruiting. You got kids that are on the fence. Which one do you want to go with? Some choose us, some choose that team down in Tampa. Some choose the one in Miami. Not the good one, not this one. This one, rawr. But so now we have to worry about recruiting because keep trending back or you trend backwards, your recruiting pool gets smaller. That's stuff we have to worry about it. And then donors don't chip in NIL. It's a whole backward slide that we can't afford, especially with how prominent and positive our athletic department has been over the past 3 years.
Yeah, no, it's a definitely a very important game coming up. It's probably the most important FIU game in quite a while. I mean, obviously they're all important, but in terms of what's on the table outside of the game itself, I mean, FIU loses this game and things get dark. You got to go on the road to a UConn team who had a rough week one, but then they go out and put up 60 something points in week two. So there's an offense there, and they're more than capable. We know the talent that's come into UConn in the offseason. We talked about it. So they're coming up. They're knocking on the door. And so this week is very important to kind of set the table and avoid that first. I believe it's been 7 years since FAU has lost a Shula Bowl.
I
So it's
literally don't. I literally don't think we've lost a Shula Bowl since before Lane was here, or maybe like Lane's first year. Like we somehow swept with the Taggart administration. Like we gotta, and this is Herman's first Shula Bowl, and he was right in the presser. We're playing a game with a trophy. That game shouldn't mean more than what any other game means because guess what? That's not a conference championship trophy. So respectfully, I don't care. Like playing for a bowl trophy or a conference championship trophy, greater than, for all my math nerds out there, greater than sign Shula Bowl. Like, and Shula Bowl then shouldn't be greater than FAU versus Army. Every game needs to be played like we're in the damn Super Bowl. That's just my mentality of, because guess what? You don't know when the last time you get to put those pads on is. Lay it all out on the line. Like, I'm not saying that there's a lack of effort or anything, but I'm just saying we definitely some things got to click a little sooner rather than later because end of the day, the way that things are looking right now, we might be back in that 4-8 and somebody else from the state of Florida is winning the most recent game on our field.
Yeah, the struggles last week, especially on the defensive side of the ball, was what was surprising to me. I mean, obviously, Army's a very unique style, and they're going to get plus blocking every time they go to the outside. And FAU's linebacker core, is the strength of the team. So I thought, that they would have found a way to eventually slow it down, and they just were unable to. But I think that game isn't a reflection of what the run defense of this team really is and what they're capable of doing. I think there's been some struggles. I mean, even against Michigan State, missed tackle resulted in that huge touchdown run for Lynch Adams. So it wasn't all good really in that first game either. But the thing is with this linebacker core and the front seven, it's a strength. It's not a detriment of this team, and so they're gonna find a way to click. The defense, the last week's performance is not what I'm concerned about, and really the offense can, I think the word for me is I'm a little bit not, I wouldn't say concerned, but I'm questioning because what's the game plan a little bit on trying to protect Cam, but also run him, like we were talking about before. What is the game plan to kind of? I understand everything with the rotations and having that talent at receiver, and all of these guys can do different things. But what's kind of the way that you're going to establish a go-to guy when it is 3rd and 10, and you need a play, and the edge rushers come in, and you need to just throw the ball, and you're not trying, and you want to say a quarterback is going to be able to make every read every time there, but when that pressure is coming, making every read is sometimes just not attainable, and you're going to want to have a go-to guy who has a 50-50 shot of making a contested catch or getting open in space. And right now, the closest guy to that has been Omari Hayes, and he's not really a contested catch guy. He gets open in space, and Fancher has been able to find him, but he doesn't play all the time. He only played 19 snaps against Army. So got to find a go-to guy in this offense. Maybe the tight ends kind of expand. But this week versus FIU, for me, I want the offense has to develop. I mean, it has to score more than a touchdown. It just has to. It has to look good. The run game has to get there. And there needs to be some playmaking from the outside wide receivers for Fancher. Yes, he struggled. Yes, some of the throws have been errant, but he needs some help. And if it's going to come from Omari Hayes, he's going to need to play a little bit more. But what were you going to say, Christian?
And you're absolutely right. Of that reliable safety net wide receiver, guess what? The two of them that were there last year are no longer with us. LaJonte is in Boulder, Colorado right now. Jaquan Burton is bouncing around the free agency life right now. Right now, we don't have those wide receivers where it's all hell is breaking loose. Eff it, LaJonte's down there somewhere. We don't have that. Like, LaJonte was getting 20 targets a game, it felt like. Like, every single play, it felt like if LaJonte Wesker didn't have the ball would be set for the next set of downs. Like, that's just how FAU's offense looked last year. If it wasn't going through LaJonte, it wasn't going. We need, in my opinion, we need to delineate who that alpha is going to be in the receiver room. And you're right. Right now, the guy is Omari Hayes. And going into the season, I had Omari Hayes as like the 5 or the 6 wide receiver. Obviously, yes, the BJ Alexander injury is huge. That is
EJ.
and then EJ Horton, huge injuries. Those you can't game plan against or for injuries. That's part of the game. But something that I liked is we got Milan a little more active. We saw what we were doing with Milan, and it was working the way that leading through the summer, I said is stuff that we got to experiment. Getting him on some motions, getting him on some sweeps, getting him on RPOs. We were taking people deep with Milan. Unfortunately, if you watch, there we go. That would have been a big confidence boost for Cam to where it's because, and that's the thing, Cam needs to build in his confidence. As the fan base, we can't be telling everybody on social media every waking second of the game, Cam Fancher sucks, all this stuff. No, try to build the kid up. End of the day, the kid's 21 years old. Like that's like if me or Robbie was out there. Obviously,
I'm out of eligibility.
yeah. Unfortunately, listen, Coach Herman, I've got 4 years of college eligibility left. I'm a great locker room guy. I'm very sneaky athletic. But in all seriousness, like that, you got to remember, it's college football. Yes, they are getting paid now. They are professionals now, but they're still kids. They still need time to develop. And that's the thing that people need to realize because we're 2 games in. Yes, we're 0-2. The world is not ending. We're waking up tomorrow morning. FAU football still plays 10 more, or what is it, 9 more games of football?
10.
FAU football plays 10 more games of football, guaranteed, maybe more. Now you could take that as, all right, there's 10 games for this team to continue to improve, or it's, I got to sit through 10 more games of FAU football. You choose how you want to go about your life. All I'm saying is stop calling the kids out on social media. Stop calling for the heads. Stop trying to run them out of town a week and a half into the school year. Give it time because remember, 6 months ago, these kids didn't know that the other ones existed because 9 to 10 of the 11 starters that are on the field were not enrolled at FAU until about January. So it takes time. Stop trying to burn the building down when the building isn't even done being built. That's just my 2 cents. Not being a homer, not being anything. That's just the honest take of everybody. Stop overreacting unless you're a UF fan. Please fire your coach and take Alex Golish because I really want to root for that dude.
Said it right. FAU still has time to turn it around, and with the players, yeah, giving up on them after 2 games is certainly a choice. I don't know if it's the right one. I understand there's definitely concern for the offense and
A reasonable concern at that.
and wanting to have something that looks good. Wins may not happen right away, but having it look good is important. And this week against FIU, it's another opportunity to see that. FIU coming off a big drubbing of Central Michigan in the opening of Pitbull Stadium. So
Got it.
I'm actually kind of glad FAU is not headed down to Pitbull Stadium this year. I feel like that would be a spectacle. In-state battle, I feel like they'd have to bring out Pitbull for that one and do a halftime show. That game, we'll talk more about that one on Thursday on Inside the Borough. We'll dive inside that matchup. We got special guest Kevin Fielder coming back and joining the crew for that one. So it'll be good to hear from Kevin and talk FAU versus FIU over there. But just some baseline thoughts. I think this is going to be the most closely contested Shula Bowl in 7 years. I don't know what happened before that. I don't really know what happened in the one 7 years ago, to be honest with you guys. But I know FAU did lose that one. And so can't have that happen. As long as I personally have been around FAU, have not seen a Shula Bowl loss. And so want to try to keep it that way.
Even I'm 1-0 in Shula.
As an unbiased journalist, I hope the game is extremely competitive. As an FAU alumni, I hope FAU is able to put things together offensively and win this ball game. Because if they don't, recruiting is going to get tough. The season is going to get tough. And it's just going to be really tough to kind of pull back from that. But I still, back to the unbiased journalist side, it's going to be a battle, regardless. It's a good team. FAU's got a very good defense and an offense that's trying to find its identity. And the question is it going to happen this game? We shall see. But tune in to Inside the Borough on Thursday over on FAU Owl's Nest to hear more about that matchup. But, Christian, we're not done with FAU just yet. It's basketball news time. It's been a minute since we talked FAU basketball. It's been in hibernation mode, kind of gearing up towards the beginning of season. The first exhibition game, I believe, is against St. Leo's. That one is coming up sooner than later, for sure. But today, FAU released their non-conference schedule overall in basketball. St. Leo on October 26th, so that's just a month and some change away. And then the season opener in Xenia, Ohio, from the Athletes in Action Center up there against Indiana State is November 4th. That's coming up. Those two games, it's less than 2 months away, folks. So it's getting to that time where it's like, man, I'm getting excited for basketball, but we're right in the midst of football season. So, but going into that non-conference schedule overall for John Jacobs and company in that first year, I think it is a very strong schedule. Diving into it, so as we mentioned, the St. Leo exhibition will not count towards the schedule.
Please win that one though.
Yeah, I mean, that even if they lose, it wouldn't count. But people, the committee would keep that one in their back pocket, like they would keep it in the memory. But that one won't count. Then the season opens officially on November 4th against Indiana State in Ohio. I think that is a great matchup for FAU and Indiana State. Both those teams have first-year head coaches, Matthew Graves for Indiana State, and obviously John Jacobs for FAU. And I think with that game, the winner of that game has bragging rights to the committee for a potential at-large bid. So I think that's a huge matchup. The home opener is technically St. Leo, but that's not a regular season game, so I'm not going to count it. The home opener for the regular season is Coastal Georgia, an AIA opponent, on November 8th. And then they go tough little road stretch. They play at UCF on November 12th. Get that win. Yeah, that's a huge game on the docket for FAU. UCF's had a good year last year. Didn't get into the tournament, but they had some good wins. They beat Kansas, and so UCF, they get a win there for FAU. Depending on the year UCF has, it could be a huge win, but at a minimum, it's still a win versus a Power 4 opponent, which I think is huge. On November 15th, they match up the Field of 68 Classic. It tips off with Charleston on the 15th. Charleston led by now Chris Mack. Chris Mack, the former Field of 68 employee. So I'm sure those guys will have some stuff cooked up for for old Chris Mack when they host that. That'll be a battle of a game. Charleston was able to rebuild despite the loss of Pat Kelsey. And then on the 16th, matchup with Liberty. Coach McKay still building his thing up there in Liberty. They're going to be that'll be another dogfight. FAU was able to handle them last year, but last year's out the window. You can't really compare games like that anymore. So we'll see how that one goes. But Liberty's a scrappy defensive team as well. And then it goes straight into the Charleston Classic. They go Oklahoma State on the 21st. OK State, another team with a new coach rebuilding after Mike Boynton left. And so they're going to be that's another opportunity for FAU to get a P5 win, or P4 now. That's 2 games guaranteed. UCF and Oklahoma State guaranteed. And then they could potentially get up to 4 or 5 games, depending on how things work out. They'll play Miami or Drake on the 22nd. Hopefully, FAU fans and basketball fans alike want the FAU UM matchup.
What should have been the national championship 2 years ago.
Exactly. That the one that could have been. I'm sure there's people in underdeveloped nations that have a shirt that says FAU versus UM NCAA.
That's terrible. That's terrible, dog. That's awful.
You know how they do it. They make all that stuff, and I've actually never. I know they do that for the Super Bowl. I don't know if they do that for college basketball. But anyway, back on track.
FAU national championship merch.
It's out there somewhere.
Yeah,
it's out there.
From this year, as we lose on the first day of the tournament.
I don't know about this year, but there's definitely somewhere, somebody somewhere had made an FAU national championship shirt.
Anyway.
I was definitely thinking about it, but anyway, and so finishing out, they finish up the Charleston Classic on the 24th. Potential for a P4 matchup in that one as well, and then they close out November at home on the 30th against FGCU, a get-back game for the Owls following a loss last year. Trey Carroll, Jaquel Powell, and Devin Vanderpool will be letting the new guys know there's some want to win that ball game, because I know FAU doesn't want to be having a little mini rivalry brewing with FGCU and hopes. They're going to want to win this one handily. And FGCU also was hit pretty bad in that transfer portal, also lost some graduates. So FGCU is not even as good as they were last year, but they're going to be sneaky. They're going to be pesky. They always find a way. So that's one FAU will have to keep their heads up on. And then going into December, they're at FIU on the 4th. I've actually never been to FIU, period, but I've never.
You're not missing much.
I've vaguely seen their basketball arena. I haven't caught much FIU basketball in their arena, so that'll be an interesting one, and that'll also be a chance for FAU to get a road victory on their resume. Always good to have them, even if FIU may not be the most resume-building victory. They'll still be a tough opponent on the road, which the committee will look at. Then they're home for 2 more games in December with Jacksonville, the former A-Sun opponent. FAU hasn't matched up with Jacksonville in a couple of years, but they're matched up on December 10th. And then on the 14th, Texas State comes to town. First matchup ever in basketball for FAU and Texas State. Texas State out of the Sun Belt Conference. Both Jacksonville and Texas State are kind of mid-level, mid-majors, not the most, again, resume building games, but they're home games versus they're home games versus NCAA opponents, which that's all I want. I don't want FAU. The one game versus Coastal Georgia is fine. But
no more nail biters against Lynn University.
Just one. Coastal Georgia, that's all they can play.
Yes, and please run them out of the gym.
Hopefully it's a blowout. Hopefully that one's a blowout.
Run them out of the gym.
Coastal Georgia can't be in any games. And then they close out the season, though. Big one. Huge, monstrous, 3rd guaranteed P4 game on the road at the Breslin Center. Michigan State, Tom Izzo. It's going to be a battle. It's Arizona level should they get the victory, in my opinion. I think Michigan State is set to have a good season. I think by that point, they'll have won some non-conference games. And Thing is, Tom Izzo struggles a little bit. We saw, I believe it was James Madison. I should have put that down somewhere, but James Madison knocked him off last year in that non-con, I believe. And so it's a tough game. It's not going to be, I'm not going out there and guaranteeing victory against Michigan State. That'd be insanity. But it's an opportunity for FAU, and it's coming at the end of a non-conference schedule. You're getting a week off between Texas State and Michigan State. Go out and win that ball game. Do it. Go send yourselves into conference play with a victory. It's possible. We'll see. Everything's on paper possible right now. But like we're seeing in football, with basketball, new players, they're going to have to click. They're going to have to gel. We've seen the talent. Baba Miller could have gone and played in the NBA potentially this year. Just example. Not going to go through the whole roster right now. But there's talent on this team. The question is, will they be able to gel? They got good coaches. They've got really good, program building coaches. And we'll just see if it clicks on the court. John Jacobs didn't seem too phased about the idea of getting everyone to gel and come together. So I'm excited for this non-conference schedule. I think it gives FAU a chance at an at-large bid, which is huge. It's huge. We'll have to talk to Rocco Miller more about this schedule. Shout out our guy Rocco. We'll talk to him more about the analytics side of this schedule and how he thinks this could potentially help FAU, mold into an at-large bid. Rocco, if you're watching, I'm going to text you and ask you to come on the show one of these days, my man. But follow him if you're not on Twitter.
And follow Christian on Twitter, too, if you're not following him. If we're just giving subliminal shout-outs.
Yeah. But no, definitely some good games for FAU this year, and I'm looking forward to some hoops. But we're in the middle of football season, so I'm gonna put basketball back onto the back burner. Even though I'm a huge basketball guy in my heart, we'll dial in on football right now. But we'll take a quick break at the moment. Is what we're gonna do. When we come back, we're talking everything AAC. Darian Mensah lighting it up for Tulane. That is a rock star freshman quarterback over there in the Bayou. They almost beat Kansas State, unfortunately lost, but I think Tulane is going to give Memphis a run for their money. All that and more just after the break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. 9:39. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. That was a quick break indeed. I couldn't get the music to run or the fake commercials. So we're back though. It's just after 9:42 here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. If you missed our first half, all FAU, make sure to hit that rewind button after the fact. But Christian, how about the Tulane Green Wave this week? Despite losing to Kansas State, I think they got themselves a quarterback on their hands. Darian Mensah this week lit it up, threw for 342 yards against a Kansas State team that is potentially competing for one of those college football playoff spots. And so is Tulane now, in my opinion. They're right alongside Memphis, in my opinion, is a potential target for that at-large bid. Tulane now, they do have that loss on their resume, but Memphis could get one this week versus Florida State. If Florida State's able to wake up, I don't know. They may still be sleeping. DJU may be throwing 5-yard passes behind the line of scrimmage right now. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Memphis versus FSU. But with Tulane, I am high on Tulane at the moment. Darian Mensah, 19 to 29, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw the pick, but that's going to happen. Didn't throw one against the FCS school last week, which you want to see, and it's going to happen eventually against the number 17 team in the country. That's a pretty good stat line. Maki Hughes, who was one of my AAC players to watch coming into this season, was the Rookie of the Year. I forgot the exact title, however the AAC calls it. But he had 21 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown, 6.1 yards per carry against Kansas State. Again, that's a pretty solid defensive line. Not the best in the Big 12, but still a fairly solid defensive line. Better than Michigan State's, in my opinion. Michigan State's Big 10, but still, just comparison. And I think he's shooing in to be a potential pro running back. I don't know how long he stays in college. I don't know if he's a 4-year type of guy, but one rookie of the year last year just rushed for 130 yards against a very solid Kansas State squad. They weren't able to put it all together. They threw that pick late. Did Mensah and Kansas State was able to return it for the pick 6, and that was it. But I still think Tulane, like I said, they've got it's difficult but attainable schedule to win out, potentially match up with Memphis. And Tulane versus Memphis, Christian, who you got?
Memphis. I think Memphis right now is the better team, but like you said, Tulane is a younger core. They need a little time to develop. Obviously, majority of their starters are not even they're stars, not starters, excuse me. Majority of their stars aren't even legal drinking age yet. The room for growth on this squad is great for Tulane. I think Memphis has more experience with their starters. Now, if you would have said last year Memphis or Tulane, obviously I would have picked Tulane but Tulane was a team that lost a lot to the draft, lost a lot to the portal. So now they're in recuperate mode. Not rebuild because they're not trash. I think they're easily the second spot for this conference. I think that they can very easily compete for the G5 bid, like you said. I think for our conference, it's really between them and Memphis, unless USF plays a halfway decent opponent and doesn't go 6-6 and beat 4 sub 500 teams, an FCS team, and a team that didn't have a quarterback and an HBCU. That's besides the point. I think it's really between those three, though. I would like to throw FAU into the mix. As of right now, we haven't shown anything to throw us into the mix, but I really think that the G5 bid is between Memphis, Tulane, and a Boise State or an App State. I think those are really the four racehorses for this.
Yeah, I would love to throw FAU in there too, but I think the people in the comments would call me a homer. So I don't think I can. I don't think I can do that.
I'll say it. It's your show. You can't be the biased one. FAU to the national championship, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't think I can say that one. But they can turn it around. But FAU.
That would be one of the greatest stories to ever come out of college football. But here's the thing. We just gotta beat the right people. We just have to beat the right teams. And guess what? We could claim a national championship. UCF did it. Florida State did it. We just then in the offseason can't cry on Twitter 24/7 about how we got robbed. So sure, right? We are claiming a national championship this year, Rob.
It's not happening. I'm not doing it. I've
I'm not
never
doing
been
it either.
up on the record. I have never been a fan of the Perk Holy Matrix National Championship. You got to flex it as you're gonna put it on the stadium. No, just no. And if you're gonna put it on the stadium, why aren't you adding a little asterisk? Star Perk Holy Matrix. But anyway, we're not here to talk about UCF. We'll talk about them in November when we play them in hoops. Right now, we're talking about the AAC, Christian.
You're
But
right.
yeah, right now with Tulane though, they have a lot to work with. I'm a huge fan of Mario Williams. I think this is a chance for him to kind of break out. He kind of wasn't able to do that at USC or Oklahoma, but with Tulane, he's already kind of shown he can be that feature guy in this offense. Hasn't been able to crack the end zone yet, but he's a potential pro guy down the line, in my opinion. Very talented receiver for Tulane. But we'll see what's on deck in week 3. Tulane's matching up with number 15 Oklahoma in Norman. That is a battle.
I got Tulane. I think Oklahoma is consistently one of the more overrated squads in college football. I could see upset alert because honestly, upset alert should have been happening in Manhattan, Kansas. Sorry, Kevin. I liked Tulane coming into that game. I think Tulane they fought, and I think that on an Oklahoma team that's really same thing, struggling in my opinion to kind of find its identity. Once again, losing Dylan Gabriel sucks, but losing more than that, like that's not good either. Like they had a good draft class, they had a good portal class. Oklahoma's a solid team. By no means am I saying they suck, but I don't like every year. I think Oklahoma is grossly overrated. When they had Kyler, I thought Kyler was overrated. I still think my burning hot NFL take is that Kyler Murray is an overrated quarterback. That's an argument for another day. Please, for all 300 people watching us debate instead of watching a certain other debate, tell me I'm an idiot. I'll be the idiot. I'll be the blonde-haired idiot on the screen for your viewing pleasure tonight. But I think Tulane's a very solid team. I like what East Carolina's been doing. I like Memphis going into this Florida State game. Sorry, Coach Norvell, grass is not greener on the other side, buddy. I think that Memphis comes. I want to see Memphis compete and come away because end of the day, it's good for the conference. As much as I'm an FAU fan, I'm all for what makes our conference better, because it only makes FAU get better. Like it all trickles in together. So to see I want to see 12 of the 13 teams in our conference have success. Y'all know which one I don't. But like I want to see Memphis upset a Florida State. I want to see Tulane upset a Kansas State. One of them is going to pop, and then it's going to be okay. Maybe the American is legit. In my opinion, if we're trying to look for that fifth power conference, I think the American poses a very strong contention of why they should be considered the fifth over a Sun Belt and definitely over the Mountain West and definitely over CUSA. So
Yeah.
I think that FAU being in that company only makes us better.
I agree. I think the conference is definitely benefiting from the additions of Navy and Army, who, in my opinion, look like two of the top teams in the conference right now. We saw Army up close and personal. That is a machine. Oh my! Bryson Daly is one of the smartest. You don't really get to see it because he does not airing it out too much, but you can just tell he's smart. You have to be smart to run that offense, know which read to make, know which hole to pick, know how many blockers you need to have plus blocking and move it upfield. And they did that to perfection against FAU. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they've got playmakers. Max Menico, I believe his last name is. That dude is talented. They have to do their service, but we saw Keenan Reynolds, do that whole pro thing. I don't know what Max's 40 time is and all that good stuff, but he seemed like an athlete out there at DB. So Army is definitely real solid. Kanye Udo at running back is a bruiser. And then Noah Short as well on the outside. That dude can fly. So Army's got some playmakers. Navy didn't get to watch too much of their game versus Temple, but Navy was running that thing at the line of scrimmage. They rushed for nearly 300 yards against Temple as well, and they blew them out 38-11. Blake Horvath threw a little bit more than Army does. He threw for a little over 100 yards and a score, but he also ran it for 122 yards and 3 scores. So those offenses haven't been in the American ever, in my opinion. I don't know the all-time history of it, but I'm assuming there hasn't been too many option-style offenses in the American before. So Navy and Army come in here with that new blood, and if the conference championship ends up being Army versus Navy, they will play back-to-back weeks. Army versus Navy will be the most important game. Obviously, they do that at the end of every season, but they would also play a week later in the AAC championship. So
that would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. I think that would be great for the AAC.
It's not like you don't know what the other team's running.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be great for the AAC. The Sickos committee on Twitter would be all over that game. Oh my, it would need to be like the Sickos committee bowl. Like it would have to be. I mean, there would be just running and punting and all the stuff that Sickos committee loves. So wasn't much punting for Army against FAU though, I will say. So maybe not as much on the punting, but the running, Sickos committee will be all over that one.
Speaking of possibly naming bowl games, I'm interested. How can we get a Bleacher Brothers bowl? That would be. Can we possibly try to buy what?
You can pay for it.
And that's the thing is, how much do I need to get on a GoFundMe to change the Boca Bowl naming rights from
the Boca Bowl? There's probably so much money in the Boca Bowl that it wouldn't.
Well, listen. All right, fine. Instead of the Pop-Tarts Bowl, it's the Christian Proscia Bowl, and you can get an edible version of me.
No.
Hear me out. Or fine. Make me into a piñata and let everybody just beat the hell out of me. I know everybody that's associated with me wants to make that a reality. And I'm sure everybody that's watching the show wants to punch me right now. So your favorite team can beat the hell out of Christian Proscia live from bowl season. So yeah, I'd be very interested in that. But circling back to the real conversations that we're having, shout out to Army. Hats off to Army. Hell of a game. I will go on record and say the most boring game of football I have ever watched.
That's what they want. I have watched, and they will say thank you for doing. Thank you. They will say thank you because they were able to do that boring style of football and dominate.
And more importantly, with the thank yous, like you said earlier, for every person that is on that field and for every person that is at that school, you committed to something so much more than football. Thank you. Thank you for your future service to this country. Appreciate you. I wish you nothing but success, and that goes to everybody at a service academy. I hate the triple option so much. As a videographer, that game sucked. I was not having fun, Robbie.
Yeah,
I had about 4 good
Army Creative must have a tough go of it.
Dude, I was talking to the Army Creative guys. I'm like, how do y'all sit through at least 12 games of triple option football? And they were just dying laughing. It was like I don't think anybody's ever asked them that before. I'm like, how has nobody ever asked you guys that before?
But yeah, Army and Navy, I definitely keep a watch on them at the top of the conference standings. Because UTSA, who is going to kind of hold one of those top spots, has struggled a little bit to start their season. They get shellacked by Texas State 49-10 in week 2. Jordan McLeod, 18-27, 309 yards. 11.4 yards per completion against UTSA's defense. UTSA normally has a pretty sound and solid defense, just not in that one. And UTSA has struggled to get things going. Owen McCown was 10 of 23. They bring in Eddie Lee Marburger. He throws 14-27 for 147 yards, touchdown and a pick, but he only throws 5.4. So they're struggling, like FAU, to really air the ball out a little bit. They haven't had much of a run game. They did not have any run game against Texas State. UTSA struggling is a big surprise to me. Jeff Traylor is,
especially to Texas State.
Yeah, I don't have the answers as to why. I'm not inside UTSA, but it is definitely surprising. I thought Owen McCown was going to be that replacement for Frank Harris and just kind of continue that little mini dynasty that UTSA has been building in the AAC, but it is just not translated yet to start this season. They're 1-1. Things are still, just like for FAU, attainable. That loss to Texas State will hurt the old resume a little bit. And now, they got to go after Texas beat Michigan. Texas now returns home to host UTSA. So that is a very tough matchup for UTSA, the Meeps. They're going to be needing to meep on out of that stadium.
Bevo is going to meep down their sideline and just.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, I trust me. I mean, I'm all AAC. I would love to see UTSA go in there and beat the heck out of Texas, but it's just not happening. It is just not. It's just
Bevo reigns supreme. Bevo is my favorite mascot in college football. Don't tell Owlsley I said that, guys. Having a massive 3-ton longhorn running down your sideline, that is awesome. Like that's actually so cool.
Yeah. But UTSA struggles. We'll see if they can pick it up in week 3 against Texas. If not, they got FCS Houston Christian week 4. That's a game they'll need to win. They'll most likely be 1-2 going into that one. So very important for them to win there. But kind of moving on a little bit, Charlotte lost to North Carolina 38-20. However, Max Brown did get hurt in that one. Deshaun Purdy took over, and he looked good for Charlotte. Max Brown now week to week with an injury. Biff Poggi, shout out Biff for giving us some injury information. Thank you, Biff. We appreciate that. We're glad to know you didn't just refer to him as the quarterback is injured either. You gave us a name, just outstanding. But we hope everything works out with Max on the injury front. But now Charlotte's got a guy in there. Deshaun Purdy went 9 of 19, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. I'm not saying he's leaps and bounds better of Max Brown. I mean, Max Brown looked good against James Madison with injuries across the line. Obviously, the offense didn't, execute everything and they ended up losing that game pretty handily. But Max has looked good. He was 8 of 12 for 175, averaging 14.6 yards a toss early in that game before getting hurt against UNC. But Deshaun came in and he kind of had a little bit of life into him and just made the offense look fun. And Charlotte kind of competed in that game for a little bit before UNC pulled away. But we'll see how they kind of do this week. It's a chance for Charlotte to kind of get on the right track. They're 0-2. Things have been questionable with Biff Poggi and his injuries and hiding them and everything that's been going on. He's not hiding them. You don't have to report injuries, but we see Tom Herman give us injuries and it helps us report on the team. So I don't know who Biff thinks he's protecting other than making his program look like it is in disarray. But this week is a chance for them to kind of right the ship. They play Gardner Webb at home. They've got an explosive freshman quarterback in there now. Let's see him make some plays. We shall see. And last AAC game to touch on, Alabama, South Florida. South Florida was in that game for a while, but once it seemed like Alabama subbed out that right tackle, again, I'm sorry, folks, I did not prepare a note on this one.
Number 75. Number 75. I'll never forget
Yes.
that.
Oh, I won't. Yeah, the number, because the number will be forever ingrained in my head. He received endless penalties.
I was about to say, I've never seen consecutive holding calls on the same person. That was
No.
insane.
Yeah, 75 on Alabama was at once they took him out of the game. Alabama had they ran it up. They ran the score up a little bit because they just put their running back in and he could just walk to the end zone. Like he literally just the offensive line moved people and he walked to the end zone. And that game ended up looking much more ugly than it was. Credit USF. That's 2 straight years where they have fought tooth and nail with Alabama. But unfortunately, this is horseshoes, hand grenades. I forget the saying, but there is no horseshoe in hand grenades. They lost bad, and so
is it my turn to give a little analysis on that?
Yeah, touch on USF Alabama, Christian.
Awesome. I've been waiting for this one for a couple days. All right, y'all almost got Bama. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Y'all almost got Bama. Bama was playing like a JUCO team against y'all for 3/4 of that game. Bama did not look like Alabama. Nick Saban was in that press conference in that press box tweaking. He was ready to run on the field and take the headset from Kalen DeBoer and get Alabama back to what it should be. There were players dancing on the field. I know Nick Saban was not happy about that. But fourth quarter hits, and like you said, things just switch, and all of a sudden Bama's scoring damn near 30 points in a quarter. Like, I don't know what Bama's thing is. I think Alabama is so overrated going into this year. I will go on record all the time and say Jalen Milroe is not an NFL quarterback. I do not think Jalen Milroe is a good quarterback. He is athletic as hell. Yes. But in terms of being a good quarterback, I don't think Jalen Milroe is all of that. In terms of the SEC, I would rather have Carson Beck, and y'all know how I feel about him. I would rather have Nico. I think Nico is the best quarterback in the SEC. I would rather have Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, easily. I'd rather have Shador. Pookie Cam Ward is the best quarterback in college football. Don't forget it, Robbie. But yeah, USF, absolute implosion when it mattered the most. I'm going to keep it a buck. Most fight that was put up for the majority of the night was by your guys' Barstool account. So,
I want to say, though, shout out to the USF Twitter presence. I was a fan of it all week.
Honestly, it was funny.
USF does have a pretty stellar Twitter representation. It's just a big grouping of people, and it was just funny to see them at Alabama.
They all hate me. I wonder why they all hate me. But I'll give credit where credit is due. They're a funny fan base. They are so toxic. It is so funny. I love tuning into USF Twitter, and if y'all didn't know, I love poking the bull. If it's not obvious, I love making their lives miserable. It's all love, though. Not really, but it's all love.
Christian's not going to be welcome in Tampa by the time.
Oh, no. I won't be allowed back in the ghost town of Ybor County. As we're driving through and we just see cemetery after cemetery.
Yeah, shout out to the I forgot the name of the hotel that I stayed at in Ybor City, but it was very nice. I don't know how I got that hotel. I got a deal on it, but I was gonna give them a shout out live here on the air, but I forgot what it was called. So shout out to the hotel in Ybor. But continuing on with the AAC real quick, games to watch this week. Rice versus Houston. Rice put up 69 points last week, and Dean Connors got involved at running back, which I am a huge fan of. Dean Connors is one of my favorite running backs to watch play. And so they face off an 0-2 Houston team at home for Houston. Rice marches in there with the power of academics and whoops up. I don't know. I think it's possible. But we'll see. Houston hasn't really impressed me. Willie Fritz has struggled in his transition from Tulane to Houston. So rooting for Rice. We are rooting for him. Shout out Mike Bloomgren. Had a good second week there. Looking forward to that matchup. And if the power of academics wins, Willie Fritz, you, sir, are in trouble. And App State versus East Carolina, the Battle of the Carolinas. That's going to be a fun one to watch. North Texas versus Texas Tech. That's another opportunity for the AAC to get a good, solid win. Texas Tech has no defense as usual. Decent offense, but no defense. And Memphis, Florida State. Can FSU wake up? We'll transition out of AAC into Memphis versus Florida State a little bit. We'll talk about that we'll never talk about that, so might as well touch on it real quick. Can Florida State wake up, Christian?
No.
No? That's all you got? Nothing? No DJ? No DJ? You cooking?
And that's the thing. FSU can be a great football team if Brock Glenn or Luke Cromahook was their starting quarterback. DJU is going to be working at that Circle K that he is an NIL deal with in about 6 months. Honestly, I don't think they want him. The USF or the FSU donors that are out here who paid to get DJU to go here are just looking like they invested in crypto. It is probably the worst investment that you could have made since investing in crypto. Like, DJU is not a good quarterback. The three and out on goal line fades was the funniest sequence of plays I have ever watched. That will be an all-time high for me. That was beautiful to watch. FSU, they need to get it under control because, like I said, that season's about to go off the rails very quickly for them because they're 0-2, but more importantly, they're 0-2 in conference play.
It's bad.
Not a good start. Like, this was a game, like the Canes FSU game was a game that on paper going into this season, I was legitimately worried about because the talent on paper should be producing. Seems familiar conversations, but like I said, Canes by 40. I legit think Miami is going to murder Florida State. I think it is going to be a butt whooping. Robbie, I know you want to wrap this up, but yeah, I literally think Florida State is about to fly off the rails.
We're overtime, so we still got two other Florida teams to touch on really quickly. But I don't think FSU beats Miami. I mean, who Miami's or FSU's defense has generated absolutely no pass rush at all. They're hurting from the losses that Jared Verse,
Braden Fisk.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they're hurting.
Patrick Payton is a great defensive end. I've said it multiple times. He's not producing. Their linebacker core is two ducks sitting on midfield. They need to start playing the true freshman at this point. F the redshirt year. Get Amari Williams on the field. Get Jaden Parrish on the field. Definitely not a biased older brother saying that or anything. But get them on the field as quick as possible. Get Ricky Knight in at corner. Like, at this point, try anything. Amari Williams was the best D-end in the country for a reason. Like, get that kid on the field because he's doing you no good standing there and giving water bottles out to a bunch of people that aren't producing. Give the young guys some reps because at this point, like I said, something is better than nothing. Get Brock Glenn in at quarterback. Doak Campbell was singing "We Want Brock" more than the war chant, and they do the war chant after every single play. Like, every time DJU stepped on the field, it was Brock Glenn, Brock Glenn, Brock Glenn. Give him a chance. Give Luke Cromahook a chance. Give the young guys a chance. Please, give the 5 guys that are on the field or on the team that I have an emotional connection with and them being the only reasons I root for Florida State is to see them succeed. Give them a chance to succeed, please.
We shall see what FSU does. I do think Memphis wins this game. I think Seth Hennigan is going to torch the FSU defense. If they can't get pressure on him, he is going to torch that defense. They cannot give him all day in the pocket, and from what I've seen so far from FSU, they haven't been able to generate pressure, and I don't see it coming against Memphis. Give me Memphis's money line in that one. I don't know what the spread is, but give it to me. And yeah, that's what I think about that game. I don't really see FSU waking up either. I that's all. There's really no other thoughts about FSU other than I don't see a path to success this season. It's going to get ugly fast if they don't figure it out and prove me wrong. So we'll see. But on the other side of things, UF made the decision to. Graham Mertz was injured, so they didn't make that decision. But DJ Lagway started
season.
DJ Lagway came in, and man, he looked good versus Samford. Had some really, really good throws. I don't see a reason to start Graham Mertz. Even when he comes back, why would you start Graham Mertz over him? A Graham Mertz-led offense is not scoring 45 points versus Samford. I don't see it. Lagway threw 18 of 25, 456 yards and 3 scores. He made UF look like they have the receivers that they supposedly have. When Graham Mertz was running that offense, he might as well have been throwing to the backups on some JUCO squad. I don't know. But Eugene Wilson looked like Eugene Wilson. Elijah Badger looked like Elijah Badger. I mean, that one play where he got it to Badger and then Badger juked out like 6 different DBs all getting tackled short before the end zone. But that was like what this offense could be. Like there was an explosiveness to it. Lagway got him the ball. I'm not sold on the UF defense by any stretch to compete for a big college football playoff. Do I think they could win 8 games with DJ Lagway?
No. Their schedule
is pretty hard. Do I think they could win 6 and get to a bowl? Yes.
No.
8. I think they can get 6. No. I think they beat UCF with DJ Lagway at quarterback. I do.
Congratulations. You're now 2-8. You're now 2-8.
Hey man, I still think. I mean, I don't. It depends.
All right.
I don't like Billy Napier as a coach. I think he's really struggled, especially in like just the. You're at UF. You got to act the part. You got to look the part. The whole hillbilly basements and the whatever he was talking about. That's unacceptable as UF's head coach. You can't have that off the field. On the field, you have to have success.
If Florida starts DJ Lagway for the remainder of the season, I could realistically see them getting 2 more wins, and honestly, that's in the next 2 weeks with A&M and Mississippi State. I could see both of those.
So then you beat UCF too, so that's 3 wins.
I like UCF going into this game. I think that UCF is the better football team. Granted, is UCF's quarterback play any better? No. KJ Jefferson sucks. He's not good.
But Gus Malzahn is a better coach than Billy Napier, and that's saying something. Gus is not, the best coach of all time, but he's far and away
I love Gus.
Better than Sunbelt.
Well, I'm a better coach than Sunbelt Billy. I will take any high school football coach in Palm Beach County over Sunbelt Billy. Like Robbie, you're a better coach than Sunbelt Billy. And that's just full honesty. I
we can run the wing T with me as head coach. That's the only offense I know. We can run the wing T.
I was about to say, and make sure you guys tune into New Era Prep Nightly on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. I've got a little something cooking up over the next couple of days. Y'all are going to see what I'm going to be doing. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be in the next week and a half. But I've got something fun coming to this segment. I've got a special segment coming. But I agree. Dude, run triple option football. It works. UF.
No, it doesn't. It didn't work in St. John Paul.
Well, I'm reserving my thoughts because at the end of the day, I still want to get into schools. But no, UF could very easily be a solid football team. DJ Lagway is a very good quarterback. Exactly. Eugene Wilson is a very good wide receiver. But guess what?
I,
That is 2 dudes out of the 22 dudes that are touching the field at some point
Montrell
offensively.
Johnson's pretty good at running back.
And
He's pretty
he's a
solid.
solid back. He's a solid SEC back. There's better backs and there's worse backs. So he is a mid-tier SEC back. But do I think UF, even if they fire Sunbelt Billy and they start DJ Lagway for the remainder of the year, I still don't think they're a bowl eligible squad.
We shall see. They definitely have a tough schedule, so that's never favorable. But I like DJ Lagway coming in this game. They should have started in week 1. Maybe it would have been close. They probably wouldn't have beat Miami. Would have been a little closer. It would have been, at least there would have been some cool storylines for UF.
They would have stressed me out a little more going into that game than Graham Mertz. Because, Robbie, are you a SpongeBob fan? Did you ever grow up watching SpongeBob?
I did.
You know the one scene where Squidward's like, I have no talent. That is Graham Mertz. That is what Graham Mertz says to himself in the mirror every morning before game day.
That's brutal. You were just talking about, not going down on these, not brutalizing these 21-year-old quarterbacks.
That was an hour ago. I've changed. But no, like Graham Mertz is bad. DJU is bad. Like they're just legit bad. I don't think Cam Fancher is a bad quarterback. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, I mean it's all of the quarterback situations you just mentioned are definitely in flux. But I do think Fancher, if Fancher struggles as a passer, whatever, because we saw what he can do with his legs, so we won't need him to pass it for 400 yards like they need DJ to do, like they really need Graham to do. So
are we talking about DJ Lagway?
We are not spending time comparing these 3 quarterbacks at the moment, but I will say FAU is benefited by having Cam's legs as well. So I don't know how we got down that path, but we are going to get away from it. We've gone overtime here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports.
No, can we talk about the ones with the good football team?
The good football team. Who we got? Oh, yeah, the Canes. We do got it.
Oh, yeah.
They played FAMU this week. I mean, what? I mean, are we supposed to be surprised that they didn't? It would be if we were to talk about it, I would only talk about it if the band came. But FAMU didn't bring their band.
That was BS. FAMU's band should have been there.
I know.
The Canes are the best team in college football. I'll say it. They are the best team in college football. I like them over Georgia. I am a quote unquote psycho Canes fan. But Cam Ward is doing something that literally no other Miami quarterback has done in years, and that's be halfway successful. Miami is a school that is not known for their quarterbacks. Like in recent memory, who the most notable successful Miami quarterback is, Robbie?
Brad Kaya.
I
see. He's on TikTok like all the
time. Brad Kaya is a quarterback that you see in a TikTok slideshow where it's real ones remember 2015 Brad Kaya. Like that's real. I think that Cam Ward is doing something that Miami hasn't done in a while. You are still very low on Mario Cristobal as a coach. And yes, there are serious concerns about Mario Cristobal. I need to see what happens throughout the remainder of the year. Right now, the jury is still out. This is the best team that they have had, top to bottom, since Ray Lewis, Sean Taylor, and Ed Reed were at the school. Like, if you look throughout the team, and they showed, yes, against a good, not great FAMU team, their depth pieces are just as good. Take out Damian Martinez. Jordan Lyle, true freshman out of St. Thomas Aquinas, is a very good running back. Mark Fletcher, another local guy, very good running back. The receiver core, you got Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, and then you go down a little bit more. JoJo Trader got some good playtime coming out of Chaminade Madonna, true freshman. On defense, you've got dogs. Kiko Mauigoa being the anchor of this defense. Ruben Bain, who didn't play last week, but is still
Yeah.
what's the Louisville transfer's name? I am blanking, but number 9, he's the defensive end. That dude is good. He is going to be elite. He is an NFL defensive end. Like, what's his name? I'm losing it, Rob. I'm tired, my friend. But he's going to be good. And then you go through the secondary. The secondary looks great. Same thing. You get the young guys in. Zaquan Patterson had a solid game as a true freshman. I'm very excited to see what the Canes do the remainder of this year. And we're going to be hearing a lot more about the Canes because guess what? I'm not going to shut up about them. And we're going to be hearing about them hopefully throughout the college football playoff.
With the Canes, I am very intrigued now that they have a quarterback because they're all like that untapped potential. I mean, they're in a major media market. We see how college treats like the SEC and all that.
By the way, it was Miami. Tyler Barron is the defensive end.
When Miami is cooking, the media is going to follow them, and they're going to have attention and all that good stuff and everything that really goes into good Miami football.
If you are not from South Florida, you hate Miami football. And that's the thing. Miami always has national attention because 90% of the country hates Miami football.
Yeah. I'm high on their players, a little bit low on their coach, but their schedule's favorable. I think Miami can make a run at that AAC title game. At the moment, they're the shoo-ins for it, and we'll see. If they can pull it off this year. They've got the talent. They've got the talent to really win it all. With Cam Ward at the helm, I think he is going to be a really good NFL quarterback in a couple of years. And so now with him at Miami, we saw what he did at Wazoo, but now he's doing it in the flashing lights of Miami. I mean, I think Cam Ward is in for something special. So
dive in touchdown, baby.
Yeah, no. I'm rooting for the Canes to go to the ACC championship, and we'll see how everything shakes out. But we'll see next week. Canes, who do they got, Christian?
Ball State. They play Ball State this week, so 3-0. Then they play that team in Tampa, 4-0.
That's a dogfight. They got to go to Tampa and play USF. That's not going to be easy. USF, especially now that USF lost to Alabama, they're going to be coming into that one amped up. Ira Brown, Alex Golesh, and company. That might be a battle. But, folks, thank you so much for tuning into the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network tonight. I don't know how Twitter works. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe 560 you tuned in with us all night long. But at some point, 509 people tuned into the show live tonight at some point. And that really means a lot to me. I just graduated from FAU and we're doing this, and it's been a grind, but we're excited and it's just been fun to build it up so far. And 509 viewers live, without a guest, I think is our highest. I'd have to go back and look. So I think that is outstanding. And thank you guys so much, for taking some time to hang out with me and Christian tonight, even though there was a debate on. You got to hang out with us on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. We appreciate it. We hope you got something out of this episode. I will be back on Thursday with Inside the Borough. Christian will be on tomorrow night with New Era Prep Nightly. And make sure to tune into Toby Shulman's show, Back to the Dugout. I believe he's back on tomorrow, if not Thursday. I know he does Mondays. So yeah, make sure to tune in to Back to the Dugout as well. All the good shows on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. But guys, thank you once again for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. Christian appreciates it. My dog on the couch, Spice, she appreciates it. We'll see you guys again here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network next week. Catch me on the Owl's Nest Network on Thursday with Jake Gibson from Pause Up Podcast. Until next time, I'm Robbie Lastella for Christian Proscia and all our friends at the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. We'll see you next time.